Gadarene demoniac we read about in Mark 5 was healed, delivered from his oppression by the legion of demons. There were actually two men there. One gospel records only one, the other gospel records two. Incidentally, this would be a good time for me to make a comment about alleged contradictions. Contradict means to say the opposite. That's what a contradiction is, something that says the opposite. If you said, I went down to Lucky's on Saturday, April 22nd, and then you said to somebody else, I didn't go to Lucky's, that would be a contradiction. If you said, at one point, I went to Lucky's on Saturday, and then at another point you say, I went to Nordstrom's on Saturday, is that a contradiction? It's not. You could have gone to both. And one person you tell one thing, another person you tell another thing. A lot of apparent contradictions are really different aspects of the account that are highlighted by one writer that is not highlighted by another writer. It's just that simple. And there is a practice in historical assessment and analysis. The practice is that they give the benefit of the doubt to the writer. And Aristotle makes the same comment. Actually, the dictum comes from Aristotle. If a person is writing, you give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not contradicting himself unless you have good reason to believe that he is. The unfortunate thing is people who are inclined to criticize the Bible go in looking for variations, and then their conclusion is every time they find something a little different that it's a contradiction. Contradiction is saying the opposite. And the standard procedure in historical research is if you find an apparent contradiction, you assume that the writer is not contradicting himself, or that two people viewed the same event, really saw the same things. You try to find a way to explain them and make them consonant. You don't call them both liars. And actually, it's a good principle just in human relations. I mean, you folks who have kids, you probably heard two different stories from your kids. And when you got down to talking to them after the big fight, you realized that they both were really saying true things, but maybe from a different angles, and there was a way to make them consonant with each other. And so the process of resolving a contradiction is simply to try to find a way that it fits. And if it does fit, it's reasonable and fair to take it in the way that makes it consonant instead of looking for a problem. That's the way history is done. Now, for example, the case with the Gadarene demoniacs, we see in Mark 5, we see one account. I don't know where the parallel account is, but the point is one says one, and the other one says two. Now, the first doesn't say one and only one, and the two doesn't say two and only two. So it's not a contradiction. What you have is one writer focusing in on the conversation Jesus had with one of the person, and the other writer just reports both of them. The fact is, you came in here tonight, and before you leave, you might have a conversation with two or three different people. If you talk to friends later, you say, I talked to such and so. And then they come back to you and you say, you lied to me. You talked to some other person. Well, the fact is you talked to them both, so there's no conflict there. And so it's inappropriate or unfair for a person to call you a liar simply because you didn't include the whole story in your first account to that person. What the gospel writers do is they pick and choose the circumstances and the incidents to focus on and emphasize those things that they think are theologically significant.